Hello everyone, welcome back. Listen, I trust doctors. I never like to argue with doctors, 100%. However, when it comes to my field of expertise, being makeup and makeup artistry, having been a professional makeup artist, not an influencer, a working professional makeup artist for 18 years, I can get a little bit, what's the word? I will correct a doctor. I would correct anyone if there was some kind of incorrect information or something that wasn't quite right or some kind of misleading information. And I came across, actually got tagged a lot in this doctor on TikTok who does like the science of makeup, which makeup is absolutely a science. There is a makeup theory. However, it doesn't always translate to, you'll see what I mean. So I believe this doctor does like filler and aesthetics and is a dermatologist and all this kind of stuff. So it does kind of make sense that the bone structure of the face, the muscle structure, all this kind of stuff has to be very well learned and remembered by this doctor, of course. And he kind of does these like contour based on science, highlight based on science. And although they may make sense in terms of like filler and stuff like that, they don't quite make sense when it comes to makeup artistry. And I'll go a little bit more into that. If this is your first time here, my name is Robert. I'm a professional makeup artist, as I said. Do please consider subscribing, give this video a thumbs up, and comment down below. If you don't know what to comment, just comment algorithm. It helps, so thank you, I appreciate it. Let's get into it. We're gonna walk through them and just, yeah. So let's kind of start with what side it was. So this is Dr. Charles MD1 on TikTok. And this is how it kind of all began.
This is how to contour based on science. I'm Dr. Charles to help keep you healthy and beautiful. And I think about makeup and contouring and shading all day long when I do cosmetic procedures, because makeup, cosmetics, and skincare go hand in hand. All right, for more feminine contouring technique, we go from the lateral canthus here, all the way down to the corner of the mouth. And then from the ala, all the way over to the tragus. Keep that in mind. When one is different, we go from the pupil down to the corner of the mouth. And then we connect the tragus to that. And then the maximal prominent point is actually about 2/3 there. So different. These intersections are the point of maximal projection. So the deepest shadowing or most prominent contouring should be just below them. I'll show you what I mean. All right, let's paint the base. All right, remember our lines. So here, 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 here for more feminine. So the crescent goes there. And for the more masculine one, we go from the pupil down, connect them. And it's actually right there. So it's higher and more medial. Let's blend. All right, you see the difference? For a more feminine cheekbone. Ooh, I do like that. And here, more masculine cheekbone. And I think about this all day long when I'm doing cosmetics on my patients and what they want. Do you see that? So easy. And the beauty of this technique is that you can do it on your face, on anyone, and find the perfect spot to contour and shade. Next up, we have more science of beauty, including highlighter, blush, as well as more dermatology hacks and general health and wellness. I'll see you soon.
So that was looking at how to make a face more masculine or feminine. Which I believe would be correct with filler. I'm not going to argue with that. And actually, yes, it does kind of make it more masculine and feminine. I do, however, feel that people kind of miss the point with this, and it isn't really how you should contour, more so on the masculine side, and here's why. So when you're using things like filler and everything like that, it gives us a new cheekbone, for example, gives us a new bridge of the nose, it gives us a new lip. It is a physical part of our face. So any shadow that's created from that is a natural shadow, right? Shadow can be changed by lighting, for example. So there's a shadow under my eye here when I'm blocking out the light. However, when I take it off, I still have very hollow under eyes, but it's not as shadowy as before. Natural shadow caused by our facial structure, it can change on the light. However, when we apply makeup, it is always going to be in that place. It's always going to be that depth of color. Light may sometimes bounce off it and fade it ever so slightly. But for example, if we put a contour product on our face, it's always going to be there. It's physical color. The contour of our cheeks, naturally the shadow our cheeks create without makeup, goes and comes depending on the light. So if you look to the left-hand side on the masculine side, this area literally just looks like a blob of makeup on the face in certain lighting techniques. And yes, it is more masculine to flatten that area, but I would be very careful in what you're using, and I wouldn't leave like a block of color there. Even blended in, it is a tiny bit, especially that high up, it would be extremely obvious.
I'm Dr. Charles. I'm a board-certified dermatologist, and this is the science of makeup. Today we're talking about temples, what to do for mature versus younger skin. So this is the technique. You find the orbital rim right there, that point of the prominence. Take your highlighter if you're mature, so you go there, and then go straight back to the hairline, down, and back horizontally. That's it. Okay, and then same technique on the other side. Find that point of the orbital rim right there, up to the hairline, down, horizontally, over. That's how you do it. Now for the more mature side, we're trying to use highlighter, concealer to eliminate the shadowing or that hollowing that comes as we lose those fat pads. For the younger crowd, they're using contour to create a little bit of shadow there. Actually defines the zygomatic arch, the cheekbone, and gives you more of a chiseled appearance. Okay, blended. Now you guys can see. I'm Dr. Charles. I'll see you next time for more Science of Beauty.
That works out because this area of our face here is somewhere you expect to see shadow for some reason. So when you're contouring there and blending it out slightly, you're kind of blending it around this area, you're blending it up around the hairline, it's around the edges of the face, so we expect to see shadow there. Science-based, when light, and I'll touch on this later, in like pictures, in like photography like this, or filming like this, light comes in this way and bounces off this way, or bounces off that way. We always have like this highlight in the middle of our face. You can see around my face is slightly more shadowed. So it makes sense to have a shadow around the edges of the face. So that's quite good. I do have to say he does use concealer and highlighter and highlight and conceal interchangeably. So, but I will touch on that also.
Contour around face based on science? Yes, it's possible. I'm Dr. Charles. I'm a dermatologist. I help keep you healthy and beautiful. And you see my viral technique for where to contour, the scientific best possible place. But a lot of questions I got asked were, how do you do it on a more of a round face? And I run into this a lot when I do filler on people who have more full faces. And so we use neuroscience to combat that. Remember, we're trying to build out that zygomatic arch with filler and with contour. So we do my same method right there. Okay, let's be nerdy for a second and think back to neuroscience. So our eyes, which are outposts of our brain, evolved really to see contrast in color. And so if you want there to be a perceived difference or a perceived ledge, a zygomatic arch, if you will, you really need to have a contrast of color. So we're going to highlight one side. This is not going to be super dramatic, but you don't want there to be a true blend. You really want there to be some bit of a degradation. We're not doing drag queen makeup, but you do want to see some sort of a difference because that's going to help your brain see that there's actually a zygomatic arch there. Let's blend this side. And so it's subtle, but you see the side with the highlighter, you do notice a more of a perceived contouring. And that's utilizing the fact that our eyes see contrasting colors with more sharpness. And so you add a little bit of highlighter and then you can contour a rounder face. All right, I gotta take this off now. More Beauty of Science is on the way. I'll see you guys soon.
So when you're contouring around face, I don't mean to be argumentative. When you're contouring a round face, we have this thing in makeup where you're almost trying to level out or balance the facial features. So if your face is too round, you want to bring your contour more down. On my face, which is quite long, you want to bring your more, you don't have to, but it's, you know, when people ask, how do I do it round face, how do I do it long face? You want to bring it more across, it almost cuts off. So what we have here is kind of a mixture of everything. The reason I wouldn't contour like this on a round face is because, just like I said in the video, when you see something dark here, your brain is going to register that it's lighter above here. What do we not want to do on round faces with makeup is this. Is push up the cheeks, apples of the cheeks like this. It gives the appearance of a rounder face. So actually and you can actually see it happen in that video, the apples of the cheeks immediately look fuller. When we contour a round face, we're trying to cut off some of it. So we're trying to cut off this area here. That's why you take it right down. If you're curving round like this, remember how I said we contour a long face, we cut it off? So we don't do that on a round face because we're giving this more volume. We want here to have more volume. We want slimmer here but bigger here. So that is very counterproductive to contouring a round face.
I'm Dr. Charles. I'm a dermatologist. I help keep you healthy and beautiful, and I want to show you where people often neglect to highlight. Take a look at that picture up there and notice the corners of the mouth on that young person. They are upturned, right? When we smile, they go up. Now look at the older person. Notice the corners of her mouth. They turn down. Now with gravity and repeated motion of the depressor anguli oris, our smiles turn down. It gives us a sad appearance. Now I do this with filler all the time for my patients, but you want to eliminate the shadow on that side. And so you should be highlighting the corners to upturn the vermilion border right there. Let me show you what I mean. A little bit of my NARS foundation. Now it's going to be subtle, but I promise it does make a difference. So if you highlight the corners of the mouth, it gives you more of that natural youthful upturn. You want to eliminate the shadow that happens as we get older. All right, I'm Dr. Charles. I'll see you next time for more Science of Beauty.
Again, I disagree. Okay, so we're talking about depth, and even he said himself, when you have something light in comparison, something next to it looks dark. If you have something dark in comparison, something next to it looks light, even without using product. When we put something light here, whatever's underneath it looks darker, lower, deeper. So if we're trying to lift a mouth in makeup, we cut off with a light here. So we almost do, I want to show you what I mean. So when we want to lift the corner of a mouth like this, we don't lighten above it. I can't see it. Oh my God, I really need glasses. We sculpt this way. Like how we lift the eye, we lift up like this. Not because it's like tapes and it's going to lift it, but because in comparison, this looks darker. So it's going to look like we have more of a lift up this way. If we highlight above that, can you see immediately that looks more downturned? So you don't want to do that. You don't want to highlight here because you're going to downturn the mouth. Even on stage makeup is really good to look at, because when they're aging someone in stage makeup, they will leave that area light, the area he suggested to do it. They'll leave lightness there because it makes the bottom of a lip look heavier. So it's really not the best thing to do.
Welcome back to SOB, the Science of Beauty. Today we're talking about dark circles. Now you've seen my videos for some of my favorite over-the-counter dark circle creams, but let's talk about how to use makeup to fix that. I just moved into a new apartment. I have not been sleeping well in a new environment, and so these bad boys are pretty prominent. I want to show you one of my favorite optical illusion hacks, because oftentimes we'll put highlighter under the eye, and then when you turn, you still see that hollowing right there. And so if we shift the eye by using a little bit of contouring and darkening, it can help. This is going to seem weird, but we're going to put a little bit of darker contour in the center. We'll do this side only, and I'll show you what I mean. Highlight just like normally. All right, from straight on, they look pretty similar, right? Under eye hollowing is gone, but when we turn to this side, right, someone gets a profile look of you, you still see that hollowing. But if you use a little bit of contouring to kind of give an optical illusion to the eye, it is much less apparent. I'm Dr. Charles. I'll see you next time for more health and beauty hacks. Remember, if you like this video, please like and comment so I know to make more of this type of content for all of you.
I don't see the need for the dramatic music, but mainly I don't see the need for the contour. So a lot of his hacks are with contour and highlight. It is concealer, it's not highlight. Although you can use concealer to highlight, but it's not the right face. So his version of changing the skin or changing the appearance of face is physically putting something into the face that can physically alter the appearance of a face. Makeup doesn't do that. Makeup is a layer, a sheet on top of your face. We need to do more than that. And if we're talking about science, the best way to cover like darkness under the eyes is by tricking the light, right? So I'm going to do quite an intense example for you with quite a light concealer so you can see. If I want my under eye to look a little bit brighter here from all angles, as I said earlier, light comes in here and bounces off this way and this way. So what we want to do is trap the light in those main areas, and this is great for like wedding photography and things like that. So actually we're going to highlight the ridge of the nose and the inside corner of our eye here. And by highlight, I mean we're using a concealer that is lighter than our skin tone. Do a line here and a line here, again for light coming in and trapping that light there and catching that light area. Same again here. Oh, you know what? I shouldn't have done one side. Let me fix that. So it's not just color. We don't just use color and light and dark to trick the light when it comes to makeup. We also use texture. So as you can see, something like this, for example, this is a great example. The shinier and brighter something is, the more it's going to catch the light. You can see more detail in my skin. So with this concealer, we're going to tap it into place. We're not tapping it around the whole eye. We're just tapping it exactly where it is. We're creating a light trap on the inside corner of this nose. Just like so. But as I said, it's not just light, it's also texture. Matte surfaces absorb light, so you don't get that shine, you don't get that like detailing like you would here. That's why in like TikTok videos when they're like, oh, this mattifying primer smooths my skin, when it doesn't, it's just the camera not being able to pick up detail and not being able to pick up light. So if we mattify those areas where we want to blur, even like in here, can you see immediately it smooths out because light is being absorbed by that area. So if we lighten and mattify, you can see how smooth it is compared to this. If you watch my like circle here, as soon as we mattify, smoother. Even when you face this way, completely smooth, because the light is unable to pick up any detail. Color correction, those sorts of things aren't always 100% necessary to the extent that people do them.
Highlight based on science. Step number 1 is finding your SOOF. The SOOF, the suborbicularis oculi fat pad. I know it's a mouthful, but essentially this is the fat pad beneath the eyes, just go laterally there, and above the zygocutaneous ligament right there. So the indentation that we can feel above our cheeks. Now the SOOF gets smaller and sinks down as we get older. And so finding these anatomical landmarks. So again, lateral eye, and then you feel for the rim of the eyelid right there. And that is where your highlighter should go. Now we highlight based on science. So find that zygocutaneous ligament, lateral eye, and that's what you highlight. Let's blend it. And that is the perfect spot for highlighter. I'm Dr. Charles.
Stop. Okay, you can see that's actually not that effective, right? It's not just me, it's actually not that effective. Another thing, so because that area of the skin is sagging, highlighting that would again be suggesting that you lift it up. However, makeup cannot physically pull and lift. So let me show you. And bear in mind the technique I used before as well, which I think again is a better alternative to this. So we're looking at this bit here, this bit that's actually sagging below my eye. So what he's suggesting is you find an area and then you highlight like this. Now, if we were to put highlighter on this over our foundation, and I'll show you that as well, actual highlighter product, I'm not talking about concealer, it will look horrendous. It will make us look tired and awful. Again, why? Because of lighting. Light bounces off. The science of makeup is light. And then he actually just blends all his concealer up here anyway. Okay, so the rest of my face is kind of sagging. Okay, so if we were to use a physical highlight, and I want to show you why catching this kind of area in the light being really bright isn't that much of a good idea. Okay, let me show you. So this side still looks a lot smoother. If we were to stand under a light that was perhaps a yellow lighting, perhaps waiting to walk into a restaurant somewhere or something like that, this would look insane. So this is the method I did with the powders. Can you see the light? No matter what direction I'm looking in, the light bouncing off it can't pick up detail because it's matte. This side, the highlighter, the product looks great. But in comparison, and like he said in his other content, everything around it looks darker. So you can see I look more hollow, I look more sunken. The science of makeup isn't the same as the science of filler, for example, which is an incredible, I get filler myself. I love the, the business, the job. I think it's amazing and people are incredibly talented to do it, but it doesn't quite translate into makeup. The secrets to makeup and getting it perfect, it's not pulling and shifting and all this kind of stuff. And our makeup changes depending on the lighting wherever we are, right? So you really do have to be careful with the positions you apply stuff. Okay, well, obviously no hate to the guy. I think he's come up with a really good, the ideas there, it just doesn't quite translate into makeup, and that's coming from years of experience on different kinds of people, different shapes, different skin tones, different ages. I spent more of my time doing makeup on other people than I have myself. So yeah, all right, thank you so much for joining me. Give this video a thumbs up, do consider subscribing, and I'll see you very, very soon. Bye.